There came a moment in my life when all the striving, all the pushing, all the hoping became heavy. I had read every method, chased every answer, tried every technique, yet the doors did not open. And then, quietly, a still voice whispered within, "Stop. Trust." Trust, but there was no evidence. The bank account said otherwise. The relationship looked hopeless. The opportunity seemed buried. But I remembered something sacred. You do not wait for signs to believe. Belief is the sign. I closed my eyes, not in fear, but in surrender. I began to walk as though it had already happened. I didn't need to announce it. I didn't need to explain it. I simply needed to become it. The universe, you see, does not operate on time, it moves by vibration. And the moment I assumed the state of the answered prayer, life began to shape itself around that new identity. Not instantly, but perfectly. Doors opened without a knock. People appeared without a call. Circumstances shifted without my control. This is not magic, this is law. The seen obeys the unseen. And the unseen is shaped by what I accept as real within me. There were nights when doubt crept in, but even then I chose to remember feeling is the secret. Not what I see, but what I feel. If I could feel it now, it was mine now. So I chose to trust, not halfway, not when it was easy, but completely. And today I speak not from theory, but from transformation. Because I had to trust the universe. And the universe, as it always does, responded with what was already mine. To reach the life you desire, you must begin with the boldest act of faith, assumption. Not assumption based on what you see, not on what people tell you is possible, and certainly not based on what your current circumstances reflect. No, the kind of assumption that changes your life is rooted in the unseen. It is an inner knowing that what you desire is already yours, even if every piece of outer evidence says otherwise. You see, assumption is not wishful thinking. It is a bridge, a silent, invisible bridge that spans the gap between where you stand and the world you long to live in. It is built not with effort, but with conviction. The moment you assume your desire is already fulfilled, something within you shifts. You are no longer waiting, you are no longer hoping, you are being. And in that shift of being, the universe begins its quiet reordering. People often ask, how can I believe in something I do not see? But that is the wrong question. The real question is, how can the seen ever appear without the unseen first being accepted? Everything you have ever experienced began with a thought. Everything. Every relationship, every opportunity, every challenge, it all came through the portal of consciousness. What you assume to be true becomes the mold into which life pours itself. When you assume the feeling of your desire already fulfilled, you bypass logic. You silence the mind that wants to figure out every detail. You stop needing the world to confirm your belief because you have already confirmed it within. That is the secret. Assumption does not ask for permission. It declares the end and walks in that end now. It dresses itself in the emotion of the result. It thinks from the place of having, not toward it. This is not about pretending. This is not a performance. You are not fooling yourself. You are awakening to the truth that all realities exist, and the one you occupy internally becomes the one you encounter externally. The outer world is only ever a mirror. It reflects not what you want, but what you believe to be yours. If you carry longing, the mirror shows you lack. But if you carry fulfillment, the mirror begins to catch up. You may feel tempted to wait for a sign, but hear this. Assumption is the sign. It is the permission slip you give to the universe. It says, I already have it. I already am it. From that place, your energy speaks louder than words. People will begin to respond to you differently. Opportunities will start to feel magnetic, and it won't be because you chased anything. It will be because you finally aligned with it. Let go of needing proof. The world needs no proof of a seed once it has been planted in the right soil, and your mind is that soil. Nurture your assumption as you would nurture a dream in its infancy, gently, consistently, and with care. When doubt comes, do not fight it. Simply return to the state where it is already done. That state is your true home. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to change your assumption. When you do, everything follows. Not because you forced it, not because you begged for it, but because you finally stood at the end and said, "This is mine." And so it becomes. There is a sacred rhythm to life that most cannot see. When something you desire does not appear right away, the natural tendency is to question, to doubt, to assume the worst. Maybe it's not meant for me, you say, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. But what if the delay was not a denial? What if the waiting was not a punishment, but a preparation? You see, timing is not your responsibility. Alignment is. Your only task is to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, to live mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in the end result. From that place, everything begins to unfold, but not on your schedule, on the schedule of something far wiser, far more exact than anything your logical mind can calculate. The unseen weaving of perfect arrangement. Behind the curtain of the visible, threads are being pulled together, pieces are being pulled together, pieces are being shifted, people are being moved into place, not by chance, but by necessity. Sometimes the things you want are being readied for you, other times you are being readied for them. Both are forms of divine love. The universe is not denying you, it is coordinating perfection. There are events that must line up, energies that must harmonize, doors that must be built before they can open. And to the human mind, this appears as nothing happening. But nothing is never nothing. It is the soil beneath the surface preparing the bloom. It is the silence before the song. It is the stillness before the breakthrough. The delay teaches patience, but more than that, it teaches trust. It asks you, will you believe in what you do not yet see? It asks you to walk by faith and not by sight. And faith, real faith, is not merely believing that something might happen, it is knowing that it already has, just not yet in your time. You must understand the high order does not rush. It is never late, it is never early. It is precise. So when the days stretch on and nothing seems to move, resist the urge to declare defeat. That is not the time to give up. It is the time to go deeper, to reaffirm your inner vision, to return to the feeling of already having it, because in truth, what you do in the delay defines what appears at the end of it. If you stay grounded in faith, the path remains clear. But if you waver, the mirror reflects that doubt. Nothing is wasted. Every second of waiting is storing up a greater outcome than you can now imagine. You may think you're ready, but the universe knows your true readiness. It sees what you cannot, and in its wisdom, it withholds not to harm you, but to honor you. So rest, not in resignation, but in reassurance. The same force that placed the desire in your heart has not abandoned it. It is fulfilling it, quietly, faithfully, perfectly, and when it arrives, you will see that it was not late. You were right on time, and so was it. The delay is never the end. It is the unseen orchestration of something greater. It is not punishment. It is positioning, not rejection, but redirection. So be still in your knowing, and let the divine arrange what your hands could never build. Wait, not with fear, but with confidence, because the moment you called it yours, it was already on its way. And everything that seems like a pause is really part of the plan. You do not need to convince the universe with words. You do not need to plead, push, or pursue with desperation. The universe does not respond to effort, it responds to energy. And that energy is transmitted through your feeling. Feeling is the signal you send, it is the broadcast of your inner state, and it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Most people think manifestation is about doing more. They write, they visualize, they affirm over and over, thinking that repetition alone will bring results. But the truth is far simpler and more powerful. The feeling behind your thoughts is what creates. You can speak 1,000 affirmations, but if your heart is full of doubt, fear, or lack, it is that feeling which becomes your true message. You cannot trick the universe with empty emotion. It responds not to your words, but to your conviction. And conviction is always felt. When you feel rich, even if your bank account says otherwise, that feeling becomes your vibrational claim. When you feel loved, even if no one is beside you, that feeling becomes a magnet. What you feel internally is what the world eventually reflects back to you. So you must ask yourself, not what do I want, but what would I feel if I had it now? This is the key. Not someday, not in the future, now. Because in the realm of the unseen, everything is already finished. Creation is complete. You are not creating your desires from scratch, you are aligning with them. And the fastest path to alignment is feeling. Feeling is the doorway. It is the language of the deeper self. And this language bypasses logic. You do not need to figure out how your desire will come. You do not need to know who or when. Your only task is to assume the emotional state of already having it, to breathe as if you have arrived, to walk as if it's done, to live from the end, not toward it. When you stop chasing and begin feeling, your energy shifts. You move out of need and into knowing, and that is where the magic begins. Because the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to embodiment. It brings to you what matches the frequency you dwell in most often. You must understand, every emotion has a frequency. Gratitude, joy, peace, love. These are powerful currents that carry your desires to the surface. Worry, fear, and frustration do the opposite. They delay and distort the signal. They confuse the mirror. So the practice is not in striving for perfection, but in continually returning to the right feeling, again and again. This is why silence and stillness matter. In quiet moments, you can feel more deeply. You can close your eyes and step into the version of you who already has it all. And from that space, you begin to embody that reality, not with effort, but with ease. Let your feeling be pure. Let it be sincere. Let it come not from force, but from faith. For as surely as the sun rises, the outer world will adjust itself to match your inner atmosphere. It may not happen overnight, but it must happen. Because the law is exact. What you consistently feel, you inevitably live. So stop chasing, stop begging. You are not here to convince life to love you. You are here to remember that it already does. Feel that truth, stand in it, dwell in it. And from that dwelling, everything else will unfold. Feeling is the key, it is the cause. Everything else is effect. Imagination is not idle daydreaming, it is the foundation of all creation. Before anything appears in the outer world, it is first born in the inner world, shaped by thought, energized by emotion, and sustained by belief. The moment you imagine something clearly and vividly, you have created it in the unseen. It exists, it is real. Your role from that moment on is not to force it into being, but to align with it until it materializes. You must understand, the physical world is always the echo, never the source. It is a reflection of the inner landscape. Most people look to the mirror of life and try to change it directly. but that is as futile as trying to rearrange your reflection without changing your expression. All change begins within, and the most powerful tool you possess for inner creation is your imagination. Everything you seek, every desire, every dream already exists in the infinite. It is not waiting to be built, it is waiting to be received. And imagination is the channel through which you tune to its frequency. When you imagine with clarity and emotion, you are not fantasizing, you are selecting. You are choosing one reality among many. And the one you consistently give life to in your mind becomes the one you step into in time. Imagination allows you to live from the end, not just wish for it. You can see the result before it happens, feel the experience before it's physically real, and walk in the world as though it's already yours. This inner assumption is not delusion, it is the seed of creation. What you accept as true in imagination sets the mold for what must become true in the world. There is no limit to what can be imagined. No circumstance, no past, no environment can restrict what you see within. And that is where your true power lies, not in controlling the world, but in selecting your state. Imagination lifts you out of the prison of appearances and places you in the freedom of infinite possibility. There you are no longer a victim of what is. You become the cause of what will be. To align mentally and emotionally with your desire means you make it familiar. You rehearse it in your mind. You feel the joy, the gratitude, the peace of already living it. And as you do this consistently, your inner state begins to shift. You begin to expect it. You begin to embody it. And the universe, by law, must reflect that back to you. It is not about forcing the vision. It is about dwelling in it, softly but surely, revisiting it in quiet moments, not as a wish, but as a reality. You begin to notice how it feels to be the person who has already arrived. You make decisions from that version of yourself. You speak, think, and carry yourself as someone who is no longer seeking, but already found. The outer world may lag. That's natural. But do not be fooled by delay. Once something is real within, it must become real without. So long as you do not contradict it with doubt or fear, hold the image, nurture the feeling. Let your imagination be your sanctuary, the place where your future is born again and again, until it takes shape. Creation begins in the unseen. What you imagine today becomes the life you live tomorrow. So choose wisely. Think deliberately, feel deeply, and above all, believe in what your inner eye sees. For it is not fiction, it is the blueprint. It is the truth waiting to be made visible. Imagination is your first creation, all else follows. Faith is not about knowing every step. It is not about seeing the full map before you begin. True faith is letting go of how it will come and when it will arrive. It is standing still in the silent confidence that it must come, because it already exists in the unseen. The greatest block to receiving is the constant need to control. The mind wants timelines, proof, and explanation. It wants to know how the money will come, who will bring the opportunity, when the healing will happen. But that need to control is rooted in fear, and fear creates resistance. You cannot receive while you're gripping tightly to every outcome. The clenched fist cannot hold anything. It is the open hand, the surrendered heart, that becomes the vessel. Letting go of how and when is not apathy, it is power. It is trust in something higher than logic. It is standing in the truth that what you have already accepted within must unfold in its perfect time and perfect way. You are not responsible for making it happen. You are responsible for aligning yourself with the state of having it. The universe is not moved by anxious energy. It is not rushed by impatience. It does not follow your calendar or respond to your demands. It responds to your faith. And faith is quiet, it is still. It walks as though it is done. It smiles before the evidence appears. It celebrates without reason because it knows. When you let go of how and when you step into surrender, and surrender is not weakness, it is agreement with divine timing. The universe always knows the quickest, most graceful path. Often it is not the path your mind would have chosen, but it is the one that leads to the most fulfillment. When you try to control the steps, you interfere with the flow. You delay the very thing you desire. Faith says, it is already mine, not because you can see it, but because you have felt it. And once you have felt it deeply and believed it fully, the rest is arrangement. People, circumstances, events, everything begins to move in response to your inner certainty. That is the work of the universe, not yours. You must become comfortable in the waiting, not passive, but peaceful, not indifferent, but expectant. You do not dig up the seed to check if it's growing. You water it with belief. You nourish it with gratitude. And then you step back, trusting the process. This trust is what makes you magnetic. When you are no longer striving, chasing, or proving, your energy shifts. You radiate certainty, and that certainty draws your desire toward you. You are no longer trying to attract, it is being attracted to you. To stand still in the knowing is to embody the end result. To live as though it is done. No questions, no doubts, just quiet assurance. That is the essence of faith. You may not see how the path will unfold. You may not know when it will happen, but you know it will. That knowing becomes your foundation. And when fear whispers, what if it doesn't work? You answer with silence. You do not argue with fear. You simply return to the feeling. Return to the vision. Return to the peace that says it is done. So, release your grip. Let go of the calendar. Surrender the method. And walk each day with the calm of someone who already possesses it. That calm is your compass. That stillness is your power. Faith is not needing to know every detail. Faith is knowing that the universe already does. You become what you accept as true, not what you want, not what you hope, not what you wish. It is what you accept deeply, silently, and persistently within yourself that determines your outer experience. The world outside is not a master, it is a mirror. It does not dictate your fate, it reflects your faith. Everything you assume to be true about yourself and your life settles into the subconscious and begins to shape your reality. The convictions you hold, whether empowering or limiting, become instructions to the unseen forces that govern experience. Life does not argue with you, it simply agrees. If you believe you are unlucky, unworthy, or stuck, life shows you scenes to match that belief. If you accept that you are favored, chosen, and powerful, life reflects that truth back with quiet precision. The error many make is waiting for the outer world to change before they adjust their inner dialogue. But that is walking backward. The outer world does not come first. It is not the source. It is the effect. And the cause is always your inner state. When you accept something as true within, without contradiction or confusion, the outer world has no choice. It must conform. Do not look at appearances to confirm your truth. That is the trap. The moment you begin to base your belief on what your senses report, you hand over your power. You let the reflection dictate your identity. But the truth is this: your identity shapes the reflection. What you hold to be true about yourself with emotion and repetition becomes law to your world. It does not matter if what you accept as true seems illogical or invisible to others. The world is not moved by reason, it is moved by resonance. When your inner conviction is stronger than your outer circumstances, your environment begins to shift. It bends to match your self-concept, not instantly, but inevitably. Create is a no intentional assumption. Every moment, you are either reinforcing a truth you desire or a lie you've inherited. Many walk through life echoing ideas they never questioned, beliefs passed down, picked up, or imposed. And because they accept them without awareness, they live within the walls of those assumptions. But the moment you become conscious of what you are accepting, you become free. You do not have to force change. You do not need to struggle or strive. You simply need to accept a new truth, one that aligns with the life you desire. It begins in quiet moments. You close your eyes and you feel the new version of you. You rehearse it, you breathe into it, and you say with certainty, "This is who I am now." Not who you will be, who you are. Present tense. Immediate acceptance. This internal shift is not always dramatic. Sometimes it happens subtly, like a new thought you choose to believe. Sometimes it takes repetition, especially when the old belief has deep roots. But if you persist, the new truth begins to take hold. And once it does, it becomes the new signal you send. Life listens. Life responds. You do not chase success, love, peace, or health. You accept that it is already yours in essence. You make no excuses. You take no detours. You simply assume the identity that matches the outcome. And then you live from that state, not someday, but now. The outer world has no choice but to obey. It is not the leader, it is the follower. So stop asking, when will it change? And begin declaring it already has. Feel the shift. Rest in the knowing. You are not becoming by effort, you are becoming by assumption. In the quiet moments of life, when everything seems still and uncertain, you are being invited to trust, not blindly but boldly. You are being reminded that your inner world is not a passive dream, but a creative force that shapes all you see. The universe is not outside you, it is responding to you. It listens not to your fears, but to your faith. It follows not your doubt, but your dominant assumption. And when you trust, not in chance, but in divine order, everything changes. You don't have to force. You don't have to chase. You only need to feel, assume, and allow. Imagination is your canvas. Feeling is your language. Assumption is your bridge. And surrender is your strength. Every desire you hold is already alive in the unseen, waiting for your belief to give it form. The universe is not ignoring you. It is organizing everything for your good. Trust it. Sincerely, thank you for allowing these words to find you. May they remind you of your quiet power, your unseen strength, and the truth that what you seek is already seeking you. You only need to accept it.